Canadians are mean and nasty. That is what the President of the United States thinks of you. Because you stopped buying American products. Because you canceled your American vacations. Because you pulled American whiskey off your shelves. Because you chose to spend your money in your own country. That made them angry. Not because you were wrong.
Trump's Commerce Secretary, as well as frequent character in the Epstein files, Howard Lutnick, went in front of the Senate today and said this about Canada.
It is outrageous that Canada will not put U.S. spirits on the shelf. It is insulting.
Look, the only reason Canada is boycotting U.S. spirits is because Trump randomly placed tariffs on Canada out of nowhere. Also, it's not a secret Trump's been trying to bully Canada into becoming the 51st state. Canada did not start this one. Trump did. Obviously, everyone knows it.
Canada's economy leans on the incredible $30 trillion economy of America.
But there's no doubt about that, Mr. Secretary. But insulting our closest ally and neighbor who provides a lot of business. We have a lot of businesses in New Hampshire, small businesses who work on both sides of the border. We have all those Canadian visitors who are not coming because of your comments and comments by the administration. How does that help our economy?
What he wants is to see a total collapse of the Canadian economy, because that'll make it easier to annex us, is the second half of his thought. Now, first of all, that's never going to happen. We will never be the 51st state.
Yeah, I don't know what Trump said or did to Canadians, but they don't like him. And they don't like America, for that matter. MAGA, not America. They don't like MAGA. As you can see, some Canadians said they won't shop here. They're not going to buy American products in Canada. They're not going to do business with Americans or come to America to do business. So basically, cutting off America altogether. All these Canadians responded back to me, and it's crazy that we've alienated our neighbor to the north that we've had good relations with for years, for decades, for no reason now, just because DJT wants to tax and tariff and scare and tactics, and it's ridiculous how we've alienated ourselves from the rest of the world. And in particular, MAGA is painting itself into a corner of the world, a tiny little corner of the U.S. and the world, to where they won't be able to come back out. The Chinese summit showed the rest of the world, 20 nations, came together in order to form a new union, a new way of doing business and conducting themselves without the Western influence, and in particular, without the U.S., most likely due to DJT. I don't know if it's because that man said Canada could be the 51st state of the U.S. or what he said, but why go out of your way to intentionally alienate the country from its direct northern neighbor when already you're alienating the U.S. from our neighbor to the south?
Trump has presented himself as a smart businessman, someone who knows how to make deals. But even in business, relationships do matter. You can't build a long-term success by alienating your best partners, and cutting off your most reliable customers. So America now is going to pay an economic price in terms of tourism and also business. So let's have a look. Please like, comment, and hype the video, all right? Let's get into it.
Did you know that we are being boycotted by the entire world for tourism? We lost approximately $21 billion just in 2025 in tourism. Now I want you to multiply that by 4. Let me put some perspective on that. Our largest group of visitors are Canadians. They spend $20 billion every single year. And what that does for the U.S. economy is it creates about 150,000 jobs. 150,000 jobs. Let me give you some perspective. In 2025, Trump only created 550,000 jobs. You can see where that 150 would be very important, right? Well, in 2024, Biden created 2.1 million. So we need jobs in the U.S. that we're not going to have because of Canadians, other countries boycotting us, and Trump. That 150,000 jobs, also, the rest of the economy was stimulated by hundreds of thousands of jobs more, specifically Las Vegas. Their number one industry is tourism. If you do not think that a tourism boycott is going to be catastrophic to the USA, You are not paying attention. Have you canceled your trip here? Many are saying the World Cup is going to be an absolute disaster. That would have brought us extra revenue, which would have attributed to extra jobs. We are desperate for job creation in this country, and it's not going to happen.
I thank Donald Trump for the boycott that we're currently receiving in the United States from Canadians. I know most of you may not be feeling this or may not see it yet, completely unaware because you don't see it in your daily life. But just let me tell you this. I had a couple of riders this week, both from Toronto. Both are coming down to see family. One had a newborn baby in the family and the trip had been scheduled for a while. And the other had a sick family member that they needed to come see. And they both told me basically these stories. Number one, that when they went to the airport, that the U.S. Customs, and for Canada, you get on the U.S. Customs and Canada, that there was like nobody in line. And that both planes were like half full as opposed to being completely full. And usually there's a 2-hour wait or more that they told me. They also told me that because of Donald Trump, and because of his tariffs with Canada and the way that they have been treated by Trump, they are boycotting every single product in Canada that is made in the United States. You can go to the grocery stores in Canada and there would be where the U.S. products, for example, Lay's potato chips and all the chips and all the stuff from the U.S., completely full. Not a one. They're on sale. She said they're on sales price for $2.97. Nobody's touching it. The Canadian chips, the Canadian food, all the Canadian right beside it, cleaned out. Shelves are cleaned out. Same thing with soup. American soup, stock full. Canadian soup cleaned out. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, not touching a single drop from the United States. Everything from Canada, they're buying. And that the Canadians also are canceling their trips to the United States. I see this on a couple of other videos I've posted. I've had several 100,000 responses. And same thing. They're canceling. You read the news and listen to the news in Canada. They're canceling everything. I've been asked to be on a radio talk show in Vancouver, Canada to discuss all of this. And they are angry and upset with Donald Trump in the United States. And the rest of us are going to pay for it. So, same thing with hotels, same thing with those that are in high tourist destinations from Canada, Florida in particular, South Florida, Orlando, other parts of the U.S. You all are going to start to feel it. If you work for these companies that make these products that are sold in Canada, they're not going to be moving. So they're going to start not needing you to work as many hours. Over time, it takes time for all this to work back through, where you're not going to be needed as much because the Canadians are buying nothing made from the United States. I had one of my followers on here tell me that he bought $400 worth of food at the grocery store and bought only one item that was made in the United States because he could not find there was a Canadian product to change whatever he needed to change, whatever it was. And that was the only reason he bought that one. They're not buying, and we will feel it. Thank you, Donald Trump. The American people will pay for your decisions on tariffs and the way you treat our friends.
Canada has been ripping off the United States of America and hardworking Americans for decades. If you look at the rates of tariffs across the board that Canadians have been imposing on the American people and our workers here, it is egregious. In fact, I have a handy-dandy chart here that shows not just Canada, but the rate of tariffs across the board. If you look at Canada, since you brought it up, American cheese and butter, nearly 300% tariff. You look at India, 150% tariff on American alcohol. You think that's helping Kentucky bourbon be exported into India? I don't think so. 100% tariff on agricultural products from India. Look at Japan, tariffing rice, 700%. President Trump believes in reciprocity, and it is about dang time that we have a president who actually looks out for the interests of American businesses and workers. And all he's asking for at the end of the day are fair and balanced trade practices, and unfortunately, Canada has not been treating us very fairly at all over the past several decades.
Why would we paint ourselves into this corner of the world where we're alone with very few, if any, allies, and intentionally break down all communications, business, and relations with the rest of the modern world to the point where North Korea is in China with Russia together? including India and Iran. And they're meeting to develop new currencies. They're trading technology, military weapons, oil, money. They're forming a new world without the U.S. I don't know if this is making America great again. I don't know if there's a plan or there's some type of goal to this, but to me it just seems like MAGA is getting painted into a corner, tiny little corner. Nobody's going to pay attention to it anymore. Those people will just be ostracized and left alone to their own little business. They won't be able to conduct business with the rest of the world. Nobody's going to reach out to them. Nobody's really going to care what happens to them. And it's amazing that they're too blind to even at this point see that what the POTUS is doing is not working. And why would you support what no one around the world is supporting? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. But hey, again, I could be wrong. That's just my 2 cents. So it is what it is. Hopefully, God bless, we can get through this. But yeah, Canadians don't like America, and they definitely don't like DJT. And hey, I don't know if we can blame them.
We have some big news right now that could decimate America's economy. Canada is now weighing export taxes on uranium and oil if Donald Trump imposes tariffs to start a trade war with the country. According to latest reporting from Bloomberg, Canada is examining the use of export taxes on major commodities it exports to the United States, including uranium, oil, and potash, if incoming President Donald Trump carries out his threat to impose broad tariffs. Now, export levies would be the last possible case scenario for Canada. According to the same report, retaliatory tariffs against U.S.-made goods and export controls on certain Canadian products would come first, because commodity export taxes on uranium, oil, and other Canadian exports would decimate the U.S. economy by driving up prices on Americans. But if Trump decides a full-scale trade war is where we're going, then Canada may very well do that, and it's currently weighing the option. Canada is by far the largest external supplier of oil to the United States, and the U.S. Midwest would be hit particularly hard, according to Bloomberg.
Just think, if Canada would have become the 51st state of the United States, they would have probably had a gold medal in hockey right about now. Just saying.
You want to know why Canada is declining? It's because in Canada, we listen to what the US say. We export all of our talent and resources to United States of America. You know this AI race we're in? Who came up with all of this? The Canadians. Who are the top distinguished engineers of Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon? All Canadians. Comes from like one school, University of Waterloo. It's crazy. U of T, all of AI, the godfather of AI. Montreal, Quebec, we pretty much invented AI. Like, it's insane. We export these out because we make a trade agreement with US called NAFTA. We basically just export all our talents out there. And none of the Canadians go back to Canada to invest because the Canadian economy and the corruption and the monopoly doesn't promote another BlackBerry, another, great company coming out of Canada. And in return, we have a bunch of monopoly like Loblaws, like all the phone company that just takes all the money, and it's corruption also at the land. So all the landlords are hoarding all the land, so you can't invest into the land itself, even if you're very wealthy, in fact. Anyways, I'm just going on rant because I feel like Canadians don't see this until you actually leave Canada and you start to see what's going on. You're like, wait a second, why did I leave Canada? Oh, that's the reason. And it's sad because Canada wasn't like that. Man, we invented almost everything we see today at once upon a time. Like we invented telephone. Like, just think about that. You get what I'm saying? We were the frontier of nuclear energy. And they don't have any of that anymore. It's sad. I wish we can change this terrible corrupted system that we have and stop blaming US. Look at ourselves. Look at the person in the mirror and fix that.
For decades, the relationship between the US and Canada has been stable and mutually beneficial partners in the world. Trade has been flowing smoothly across the borders. Families, businesses, and tourists, they move back and forth every day. So there has been trust and cooperation, and that kind of a relationship is not easy to build, but it is easy to damage, When tariffs are imposed, when allies are insulted, and when threats are made, even if they are brushed off as jokes, they don't just disappear. They shape how people feel. And in international relationships, perception do matter just as much as policy. Canadians choosing not to buy American products, they're not just symbolic, that is economic. It affects businesses, supply chains, and workers on both sides of the borders. Canadian tourists are deciding not to visit the US. That is billions of dollars lost. Hotels, restaurants, retail stores, airlines, all of them feel the impact because these are real people, These are real jobs and these are real incomes. So America should know that once trust is broken, it is very hard to rebuild. If Canada starts looking elsewhere for trade, partnership, and cooperations, those shifts can be permanent, The same goes for European allies who are watching closely. So when allies feel disrespected, uncertain, they adapt, they diversify, and they move on. And that's how influence is lost. And for a country like the US, global leadership has never just been about power. It's been about relationship and alliances. It's about being seen as reliable, predictable, and cooperative. Another thing is that respect do matter a lot. How you treat your allies matters. How you communicate, how you negotiate. Because in a connected world, no country operates in isolation. Every decision creates a reaction, and every reaction has consequences. And right now, we are watching the consequences play out in real time. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.